situation. Glued to the news like it'll be our salvation. Guess what? Trusting the rich can be a real temptation. This is a reminder they don't represent our nation. Here's about the virus and the media. To pass laws we hate, well, we don't pay attention. The time is now to raise a ruckus, build some tension. Yeah, it's time to stand up. We got the power, only gonna get louder. We can't wait for politicians so corrupt. We can't wait for billionaires who mess people's lives up. We got the power, and we're gonna get louder. We can't wait for anyone to save our health. The world's in our hands and we need to lend some help. Yeah, as people got the power. They rig the system to steal money from the populace, thinking we won't realize they're a bunch of monopolists. But wait, they say to speak our minds and claim we should be optimists. But when we call for equal lives, they say we're all just communists. About the virus and the media, to pass laws we hate, but we don't pay attention. The time is now to raise a ruckus, build some tension. Yeah, it's time to stand up. We got the power, only gonna get louder. We can't wait for politicians so corrupt. We can't wait for billionaires who mess people's lives up. We got the power, and we're gonna get louder. We can't wait for anyone to save our health. The world's in our hands and we need to lend some help. Yeah, I think my speaker just died. So apparently this doesn't have any power. All right. I know, I'm good. I'm good. All right. The next song was going to be a cappella anyway, so it fits. You broke your wallet, money overflowing. Think you can be used for work like we're tokens. You don't think twice, pay them off with your riches. But broken eyes can't be fixed with stitches. We're walking on a layer of ice, thin as the paper we tore down trees for. Ignorance is all allowance, greed our vice. It's only a matter of time before we sink. And you can't ice skate when there's only water, and that water is dirty from my slaughter. You can't live when your blood's about to boil, all for a little bit of gas, coal, and oil. You stole this land once, now you're aiming for it twice. No one's happy with you for this, you'll pay the price. You chose to ignore that we're living in a crisis, but we see you for what you are when you lie like this. We're walking on a layer of ice, thin as the paper that we tore down trees for. Ignorance is our allowance, greed our vice. But it's only a matter of time before we sink. And you can't ice skate when there's only water, and that water is dirty from our slaughter. Oh, no, you can't live when your blood's about to boil, all for a little bit of gas, coal, and oil. Can't ice skate when there's only water, and that water is dirty from my slaughter. Can't live when your blood's about to boil, all for a little bit of gas, coal, and oil. You knew what happened, yet you warmed our air. You saw us on the ice, but you didn't even care. A crack is forming into the blue, but you forgot that you were standing on it too. And you can't ice skate when there's only water, and that water is dirty from our slaughter. You can't live when your blood's about to boil, all for a little bit of gas, coal, and oil. You can't ice skate when there's only water, all from water is dirty from our slaughter. No, you can't live when your blood's about to boil, all for a little bit of gas, coal, and oil.
My name's Maya Van Rossum. I'm the Delaware Riverkeeper, and I want to thank everybody for showing up on this hot July day to stand against the PennEast Pipeline. Now, 2 weeks ago, the United States Supreme Court sided with PennEast against the people in a precedential ruling that undermines state sovereignty, that undermines states' rights, and that endorses the eminent domain taking of public lands that people through generations have invested to protect for present and future generations, to protect for natural resources, not to protect for the PennEast Pipeline Company. Now, because of this recent ruling, PennEast is sure to pursue a high-pressure, full-steam-ahead campaign to advance its destructive fracking project, or fracking pipeline project. And that is why we are here from across the region today to make clear to the PennEast Pipeline Company and to all government officials that we, the people, will do what we have to stop the PennEast Pipeline, and we expect our government officials to stand and do the same with us. Yeah. Now, since PennEast was first proposed in August of 2014, we, the people, have been sold out by too many in government. Pennsylvania Governor Wolf gave near immediate approval to the PennEast Pipeline Project before even considering its devastating consequences. The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission quickly gave its usual rubber stamps approval to this fracked gas pipeline project. And then, of course, most recently, the Biden administration and the U.S. Supreme Court sold us out. At every turn, government officials have been betraying us, helping PennEast as it works to take our property, devastate our environments, advance fracking, exacerbate the climate crisis, and sacrifice present and future generations to the devastating consequences of fracking in the fossil fuel industry, except for the state of New Jersey. Throughout our 7-year battle against PennEast, we, the people, have had one and only one consistent government ally, and that is, in fact, the state of New Jersey. New Jersey has stood with us as a wall of defense against the ravages of the PennEast Pipeline. As soon as they could, they closed the Clean Water Act file on the PennEast Pipeline Project, denying it any approvals. They have been challenging FERC's certification of the project. They have fought, of course, against the taking of public lands all the way up to the Supreme Court, the court who's just sold us out. Now, while we acknowledge all that New Jersey has done, we are here to be clear that more is needed and more is expected. We need all New Jersey elected leaders, in fact, we need all elected leaders to rise up and use every tool available to defeat PennEast, to deny Clean Water Act approval the next time they file their applications, which will be very soon, to use New Jersey's leadership to secure Delaware River Basin Commission denial of a PennEast docket, and to make sure that not a single tree is felled for this needless fracking project. If allowed, PennEast will take family and public lands by eminent domain. It will force children and families and communities to live with the ever-present fear and with the potential consequences of an accident, incident, or explosion that could destroy their lives. It will carve through 269 rivers, streams, and waterways, damage 235 wetlands, cut through 44 miles and 600 acres of forest and 4,300 acres of preserved lands, and impair another 1,700 acres of interior forest, essential for species of all kinds. And it's not just this pipeline blueprint that we have to worry about. If PennEast is allowed to be constructed, it will induce fracking in 4,600 more gas wells, sacrificing families in 6 more Pennsylvania counties, consuming 880 million gallons of precious water every year for their toxic fracking stew. It will spew toxins into the air, into the water, into the environment, as well as climate-changing emissions that will sacrifice future generations, and it will inflict at least $56 billion in damages. Whether you care about people or property or earth or future generations or just plain old money, PennEast will inflict unacceptable harm. Now, PennEast thinks that their fracking pipeline is a done deal. Well, it's not. There are many pathways to victory, and we will pursue each and every one of them until we achieve ultimate success. Let's face it, across the nation, people are being sacrificed to the fracking and the fossil fuel industry. Well, we are here together from around the region to say, not this time, not here, not now, and not PennEast. We don't want the PennEast pipeline. We don't need the PennEast pipeline, and we will do whatever we have to stop the PennEast pipeline. There you go. Stop PennEast! Stop PennEast! Stop PennEast! Stop PennEast! Stop PennEast! Stop PennEast! Woo! Stop PennEast! All right. And with that, I'm going to turn the podium over to Doug OMalley from Environment New Jersey.
Thank you so much, Maya, and thank you to all of you that are here today. My name is Doug OMalley. I serve as the State Director for Environment New Jersey. We represent more than 80,000 citizen members and activists across the state, and I can guarantee you we are seeing a movement here in New Jersey and around the country to stop pipelines like PennEast. And I do not say that lightly, because this has been a 7-year journey to be able to stand up and stop PennEast and their peddling of the fraud of their environmental impacts, the peddling of the climate impacts, but most importantly to stand up to the fact that somehow people don't care. New Jersey is not Texas, it's not Oklahoma. We have seen a movement starting back in 2014, starting back in the hearings, in the FERC hearings in West Trenton, in the firehouse. That night in 2015, a winter night, there were more than 500 people that jammed in here. So we don't have 500 people here, but the heat is on, and the heat has been on PennEast for years. And the reason is because they cannot meet the environmental standards of the Clean Water Act. And that's why we're here today, because if you build PennEast, you will pollute water. And that's why we need to stop PennEast. We're also here because this has been a movement. It's been powered by people. It's also been powered by our courageous elected officials. And I'm so honored to be joined by Senator Kit Bateman, who's been with us every step of the way. And we'll hear later from Senator Bateman. But what the senator understands, his whole career in elected office, from way back in Branchburg to his days at the State Senate on the Senate Environment Committee, has been doing what's right for New Jersey's land, for New Jersey's climate, and New Jersey's water. And PennEast is bad on all 3 of those things. We obviously, as Maya referenced, got a terrible Supreme Court decision just recently. There's no reason that PennEast should be using eminent domain. They're a private body. But now the question comes to what New Jersey can do and what our elected officials can do. And I'm proud because the administration, specifically Governor Murphy and his administration, have been behind opposing PennEast from the get-go, from as early as the early days of the primary in spring of 2017 to the actions of Governor Murphy's DP on deeming the applications to PennEast incomplete because of the what we still feel is an illegal attempt to use public land and public dollars for Green Acres land to be able to turn that over to a fossil fuel nightmare. That is not allowed. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court disagrees with us. So now is a moment, is a test for DP to use the ultimate tool, and that is the Clean Water Act. This is the moment to break the glass, to get the hatchet, the fire hatchet, to use that hatchet, and specifically Section 401, the Water Quality Certificate of the Clean Water Act, to say that PennEast will pollute our water, because we have seen the environmental injustice of FERC and their environmental decisions superseding our state laws that go above and beyond, but they cannot go above and beyond the Clean Water Act. And this is why this is so critical. The PennEast will not only devastate watersheds and waterways across the watershed, it will impact 31 Category 1 streams across New Jersey. That's one of the highest levels of anti-degradation. Those streams in New Jersey's DEP statute says they cannot have measurable degradation to their water quality, and it is a lie to think that PennEast won't pollute them. They will. And that is the way that Governor Murphy can stop PennEast, is to break the glass, use the hatchet, use that power of the Clean Water Act to say that PennEast will pollute our waterways, it will degrade our water quality, and Governor Murphy and his administration can follow the path that New York and Connecticut have used with the Section 401 of the Clean Water Act. PennEast Pipeline stopped more than a decade ago by Connecticut. More than 5 years ago, New York stopped the Constitution Pipeline using this same tool. And so this is a moment where obviously many of us can feel disheartened by a devastating Supreme Court decision. We should not feel disheartened. It's been a 7-year battle. We're here because we are going to win, because PennEast is a disaster to our environment. It's a disaster to water quality, and we need Governor Murphy and his administration to use the Clean Water Act to stop PennEast in its tracks. Thank you.
And next we're going to hear from Eric Benson with Clean Water Action.
Hi everyone today. Thank you for coming out. Another hot day today. I attended a Delaware River Basin Commission meeting December 2019. I couldn't find my hairband. But not only does it see strong political message, would have been very functional today. One of our talking points at that meeting 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, was that this pipeline has been around for at least 3 years, but before that, 7 years, and we are still here speaking out, fighting, pushing our elected officials that this is not a pipeline we needed then, and we surely don't need it now. The climate science has only gotten worse since this damming project. The climate science has only gotten worse. If this project is built and operated at capacity, the PennEast Pipeline would add over 20 million metric tons of greenhouse emissions to New Jersey's greenhouse portfolio every year, in a state that's working to achieve clean energy goals that would severely set us back. In the year of social justice reckoning, the moral directive to take action to prevent climate change and reduce pollution is more urgent than ever. Regular exposure to increased pollution has a direct correlation to an increased deaths due to COVID, and impacts of climate change are not distributed equally. Low-income communities and communities of color are threatened by increased flooding and severe heat waves. We need climate justice. Woo! We were never counting on the courts to save us from this deadly project. The DRPC has had the authority to reject this project from the start. And with the election of Governor Murphy in 2017, we felt we finally had a climate ally representing New Jersey on the Delaware River Basin Commission. Governor Murphy is one of 5 voting members on this commission. He must use his authority to influence the other governors and federal representative, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and the federal government, thank you, to oppose PennEast because of its irreparable impacts on water resources and the direct harm, including inflicted communities, I'm sorry, wow, that's hot. Including direct harm and the harms that would be inflicted by an increased climate crisis. All eyes are on PennEast. DRBC's decision will make a precedent-setting impact here for every other fracked gas pipeline to come, whether it be in New York, New Jersey, or Pennsylvania, and Delaware. It is extremely important that we set a strong precedent that DRBC will stand with the communities and the members of these states and say no to devastating water impacts, air, economic and climate impacts of frack gas pipelines, frack exports, and the fracking industry. We cannot allow the pennies to move forward. Here's the bottom line. As we enter into another summer of record-breaking heat waves, wildfires, fires, droughts, floods, and hurricanes, New Jersey has the moral and legal responsibility and scientific obligation to reject all new sources of pollutants. As one of the 5 members of the Delaware River Basin Commission, Governor Murphy can demonstrate his climate leadership and legal authority by closing the file on PennEast once and for all.
All right, next we're going to hear from Tracy Carluccio with the Delaware Riverkeeper Network.
Thank you all for coming out today. We have a new opportunity to stop the PennEast Pipeline now that there is a new administration in Washington. President Biden is one of the 5 votes on the DRBC, the Delaware River Basin Commission, and he will decide, along with his other fellow commissioners, what the agency will do regarding PennEast. The governors of the 4 watershed states, as we heard, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, will be carrying out their policies through their votes. And so will the federal representative from the Army Corps of Engineers, who will be carrying out the policies set by the president. We know President Biden has pledged to restore the full force of the federal environmental laws that Trump attacked over the last 4 years, setting the expectation for us that the devastating impacts of the PennEast project will be honestly and thoroughly examined through his representative on the DRBC. We also know that Biden has pledged to address the climate crisis with a goal of keeping global warming below 1.5 degrees Celsius as the science demands. He has stated he will reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 50% by 2030 across all economic sectors, and he specifically acknowledged this requires methane reductions. In fact, the only way to reduce greenhouse gases this quickly is to stop methane emissions. It's the most powerful of greenhouse gases on a 20-time scale, the only thing that really counts in trying to prevent gas emissions going out of control over the next 10 to 20 years. Considering that PennEast would include at least 3,000 new fracked wells in Pennsylvania, preventing the cradle-to-grave glut of methane emissions that this fracking would unleash by stopping this massive project is the Biden administration's only logical choice. And he can do this through his representative who votes on the DRBC. This can be done. We are also calling on our federal elected representatives to make sure that the Army Corps Commissioner makes good on the pledges that have been made by President Biden, carried out by a vote at the DRBC to close the file on the PennEast project. Woo! And as the Biden administration and our federal delegation faces other decision points regarding PennEast and the frack gas infrastructure that is ruining our nation's environment and public health and causing global climate catastrophe, we are appealing to them to say no. No to PennEast, no to frack gas, and yes to our fossil fuel-free future. No PennEast!
No PennEast! No PennEast! No PennEast! No PennEast! No PennEast! All right, now we're going to hear from Ray with the Sunrise Movement.
Thank you, everybody. Last year, the climate crisis became unignorable. It went from something easy to put aside, something vague in the future, to a concrete threat that threatens the entire future of our planet. Right now, across the entire world, people are losing their homes, their jobs, and their lives to a deadly disease that is sweeping across the planet, hitting the poorer communities, the marginalized communities the most. On both the west and the east coast of the United States, the people are being affected by long-lasting extreme heat waves, with temperatures breaking records in dozens of states across the country. Our poorer communities, especially the homeless population, have been hit the most by this. They have no place to go, and they're forced to live outside in the heat with no help except from mutual aid organizations on the ground who are stretched too thin as it is. From the Pacific Northwest heat wave alone, over 54 deaths have been recorded. Communities are suffering without enough water or access to air conditioning and lack the necessary medical care to treat heat-related and climate-related illnesses. And finally, even as the climate crisis wreaks havoc across our nation, more dirty, polluting infrastructure is being proposed. Even as we all start to recognize the harms of fossil fuels, we still have to deal with the threat of new power plants, new incinerators, and new pipelines. Right now, there is a natural gas power plant being proposed in Caseby, even though there's already another power plant there. Communities are already being impacted by the climate crisis, are being forced to deal with even more polluting infrastructure and fossil fuel projects. And another fossil fuel project is being proposed to run right through the state of Pennsylvania and the state of New Jersey, and by now I think you all know what it is. The PennEast Pipeline is yet another dirty project that has been proposed and advanced in our home state, even as the science consistently tells us that we must not engage in building new fossil fuel projects. Even as our energy usage shows us that we do not need another pipeline to supply New Jerseyans with the energy that they need. Even as our politicians speak of the need to advocate for climate action, we still have not seen anything happen. We've just had empty words. In fact, we've seen it get worse, with the Supreme Court siding with corporate profits and telling the PennEast Pipeline Company that they're allowed to use New Jersey lands for their pipeline construction. This is not acceptable. There is clearly no need for another pipeline in New Jersey. We have enough energy to serve our needs, and we most certainly can get even more energy from clean and renewable sources. We need to get our energy from these places, and we must get our energy from 100% clean and renewable energy by the end of the decade. There is no time to wait. There is no time to wait, or we could face catastrophic climate impacts in the near future. And right now, the climate crisis is impacting our most vulnerable communities. Right now, not 10 years, not 20 years in the future, right now. Specifically, it's impacting those who have been oppressed and marginalized by systemic racism in our country. Black and brown communities face a far higher mortality rate from climate-related impacts than anyone else in our country. They lack the resources to defend themselves from climate-related impacts because of decades of systemically racist practices such as redlining. Big corporations and government entities see it fit to place dirty fossil fuel projects and other polluting infrastructure right smack dab in the middle of environmental justice communities that already have pipelines, incinerators, and frack gas power plants in them already. Additionally, even as a young person, the climate crisis seems even scarier to me. Some of you may not be around in 10, 20, 30, or even 40 years, but I'm gonna be here. No offense to you guys, but I'm gonna be here. And so will the rest of my generation. We're gonna have to deal with the impacts of a damaged planet. We're gonna have to deal with impacts caused by billionaires and politicians years before I was even born. In the 1970s, scientists recognized the fact that climate change was a real crisis and a real thing that we had to address right now. They even came up with solutions. I was born in 2004, which means that this took place over 30 years before I was even born. And even today, after over 50 years, we still have had nothing done to address this crisis. Nothing done to advance those solutions that the scientists came up with in the 1970s. We still have seen no concrete climate action. I'm going to have to deal with this, and I'm not going to have a say in my future, and neither is the rest of my generation and my fellow young people who are here with me today. My name is Ray Watson. I use they, them pronouns. I'm 16, and I am the co-coordinator of Sunrise Hunterdon County. I'd like you all to take a look around, and especially the older folks in the crowd today, I'd like you all to take a look around at the young people who are here with you today. I'm going to name drop a few people. I'm going to name drop Alpha, who was playing music earlier today, and who is an amazing activist. I'm going to name drop Victoria, who is another Sunrise activist and amazing team member. And I want you all to look around at these people and at every other young person in this crowd today. These are the people that you're fighting for. These are the people that we're fighting for. This is our planet that we're going to inherit. And everybody here today needs to keep that in mind. We cannot allow the harmful PennEast Pipeline to threaten our futures, and we cannot allow our leaders to stand idly by while climate change continues to wreak havoc. We need to take action, and we must stop the PennEast Pipeline. Thank you.
Stop!
Stop PennEast! Stop PennEast! Stop PennEast! Stop PennEast!
Stop!
Thank you so much, Ray. And now we would like to invite all the younger people in the audience, although, as everybody knows, I'm always the youngest person in the room. All the younger people, come forward, because we have a message for the governors that we would also like to come forward. Come forward and listen to the youth. And we'd like to invite the one legislator who joined us today in person for reals, New Jersey State Senator Kip Bateman. Please, Senator Bateman, stand here. And we'd like to invite Annika Van Rossum to come bring forth a message and questions from the youth.
I do see a young man walking down, so if you'd like to come be up front, I'll give you a moment.
Oh, yes! Woo! Right center.
Spotlight.
Right here, if he's willing.
Right up front. Woohoo! All right. Woohoo! All right. Hello, my name is Annika Van Rossum, and like any inquisitive young person, I would like to start with some questions. Why does PennEast's future matter more than ours? Why must we sacrifice our drinking water and our oxygen to be poisoned by PennEast? Why must future generations literally watch their planet burn and die at the hands and greed of companies like PennEast? If you expect there to even be a planet for mine and future generations to live on, the only way is to deny PennEast. Future generations are here to say our air, our water, our environment, our climate deserve to be protected. We are here to say our environment is not for sale. Our generation can no longer just ask and hope our elected officials will act. We are out of time. We demand you not let PennEast run out the clock on our future. Whether you decided to come and listen to the future generations of this country or not, we are calling upon you, Governor Murphy.
Woo!
Woo! Governor Cuomo.
Governor Cuomo!
Governor Carney. And Governor Wolf, even though you already sold us out, I will still call you out. But don't worry, I still haven't forgotten to call upon you, Senator Booker, Congressman Malinowski, Congresswoman Watson-Coleman, New Jersey Senator Turner, President Biden, and all in the New Jersey legislature. However, I do have to give a special shout out to Senator Kip Bateman, who did in fact come and listen and stand with us, and we appreciate you, especially in this hot weather. Very hot day for a hot suit, and I'm very happy you're here. So for those of you I did call upon, will you stand with us? Will you do anything and everything you have in your power to stop PennEast, to protect our environment, to protect us? PennEast may falsely promise you economic gain, but for us and our planet, they only promise decimation. They promise us a dying future. Is that a promise each of you I called upon today would like to keep? If not, if you stand with the people, if you stand with the youth, and if you stand with future generations, then tell PennEast to go home!
Go home! Woo!
Thank you.
And so, with that, we are going to now hear from the illustrious Senator Bateman.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. And I was there in the beginning of this fight, and I assure you I will be there at the end when we all come back together and celebrate victory. This issue is so important to the future of New Jersey, and as a parent and as a new grandparent, we have a responsibility to make certain that we leave our planet, this state, cleaner than when we found it. And obviously with PennEast pipeline going in, that's not going to happen. So this fight is not over. I mean, I'm encouraged that it was a 5-4 split. I was hoping it would be the other way, but the fact that it was so close with the United States Supreme Court indicates to you that it's a very important issue that we can win. No question about it. There's still litigation going on, and obviously there's strength in numbers. And although it's a hot day in the middle of July, we have a great crowd out here, a very enthusiastic crowd, and we need to carry that enthusiasm forward, because I know the governor's on our side, Governor Murphy, and so many residents, in particular in the 16th district that I've talked to over the years, Delaware Township, Stockton, Hunterdon County, parts of Somerset. People are very, very concerned about this. And the problem with this is it just encourages fracking. And fracking is so bad for the environment that, we have to continue to fight to the last end. And so, I'm optimistic. I'm always an individual, the glass is half full. And obviously seeing the support here and the youngsters who've done a great job this morning, I'm encouraged, I really am. So I will continue to do what I can do, because I just think it's so important. And, they're trying to ram this down our throats, and it's just so wrong. It really is. So keep up the good work. We're with you, and we'll be with you in the end. And I can't wait to get back together and celebrate our victory.
Stop PennEast!
Stop PennEast! Stop PennEast! Stop PennEast! Stop PennEast! Stop PennEast! Stop PennEast! Stop PennEast! All right, so this will be the last song of the day, so I hope you enjoy it.
Oh yeah.
I will sing here, I'll be fighting, I'll be sincere, never lie unlike you. I will be free. I will stand here, lead revolutions. I'll never fear or be disillusioned. I will sing out despite your obedience, your system. I'll cry, and that isn't weakness. Might die, but never my spirit. I will rise, we will fly. I will sing here, I'll be fighting, I'll be sincere, never lie unlike you. I will be free. I will stand here, lead revolutions. I'll never fear or be disillusioned. I will sing out despite your obedience, your system. I'll cry, and that isn't weakness. Might die, but never my spirit. I will rise, we will fly. Adrenaline's pulsing through my veins, will never be the same. Powerful, but I won't be in vain, 'cause the whole world still ours to gain. I will be free, free to be me. We'll make a fuss, oh, to peace. I will be free, free to be me. We'll make a fuss, oh, to peace. You may kill me, but not my ideas. 'Cause you can't command the free. Will you join me? Will you join